Hello, my name is Dr. Brian Hart. I'm the CEO of xyLOGIX LLC, and I wanted to demonstrate a new product that xyLOGIX LLC is developing and has yet to be released to the marketplace. So standard NDA terms do apply. However, I want to just take some time and share this innovation with you. The innovation is called xyLOGIX AppMaster, all one word, initial caps. And AppMaster is basically like a Chrome, but for Visual Studio. So as a Visual Studio developer, I work with several different solutions that all interdepend upon each other into a big software system. And I find it helpful to have multiple instances of the Visual Studio development environment open on my computer at one time. However, it's cumbersome to deal with multiple top-level windows of Visual Studio and drag them all around and switch easily from one to the other using the jump list feature on the taskbar. And so instead, what I'm going to demonstrate is xyLOGIX AppMaster, which tries to solve that problem by putting Visual Studio instances in tabs, just like Chrome. Other applications can be put in tabs too with this product. So let me demonstrate. And this is kind of, I think, overall the trend that Microsoft is going with Windows 11. So I think this aligns very tightly with future product directions. I'd like to pitch this to Microsoft for them to buy this product. Anyway, let me continue to demonstrate. So let me first show you the old way of launching Visual Studio. So here I'm launching Visual Studio 2019 Enterprise Edition, and let's maximize that window. Okay, so let's suppose I want to work with multiple Visual Studio solutions at one time. So of course I'm going to let the environment load and bring its initial extensions up. There we go, it seems to be done. Okay, I'm going to go into my project folder and let's see. Well, I have the source code here for the Coinbase NuGet package. I also have some other things here, but let me just go into my folder of all my wonderful solutions here. Let me open up my solution called core.common.sln. And then I'm going to open that. And so it's going to load my solution and so forth, and away I go. Let me make sure and change that startup project there. Okay. So now you notice that the core.debug and core.logging.constants and so forth, those are actually parts of other solutions on my computer, .sln files, that interdepend upon core.common and vice versa, okay? So I like to separate out my code modules and .slns as kind of a similar way of working with NuGet packages, but this is before things become NuGet packages, right? So but let's suppose I want to work on the core.debug.sln as well. Well, one option that I have, of course, is going to the File menu, going to Open, Project Solution, and then selecting the core.debug folder, and then clicking on this file. But of course, if you notice, if I click Open on that, I can only have one solution at a time, or one .sln file at a time open in the environment. This inhibits me as a developer in the sense that it's harder to work with multiple .sln, Visual Studio solutions at once. And so, of course, if I wanted to keep this solution open and work on core.common.sln, I just go to the jump list, which is that right-click menu on the icon on the taskbar. That's what it's called in Windows, is the jump list. And I can bring up the relevant copy of Visual Studio. Now let's suppose I'm only on one monitor, or say I'm RDPing into my dev box. So I can only, I have to move these windows around, maybe resize them, and then I get less screen real estate for my development, right? So that's a little cumbersome. So anyway, let me just maximize both these windows again. Okay, so it's a little hard to switch to them. Of course, I can do Alt-Tab, I can switch via the Alt-Tab menu, right? But that's, again, pretty cumbersome. Let's suppose now I even want to work on the third solution. And for this, I'll just open up a blank version of Visual Studio here, a blank instance of Visual Studio, maximize that, of course. Wait for its extensions to load, shouldn't take too long. And then what I want to do is open up, let's say, the core.logging solution. So open the project solution, scroll down here to core.logging. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click this icon here, and I'm going to say open. And now things are even worse. Okay, yes, so I can, I can hover over the Visual Studio icon on the taskbar, and I can see my three IDs, but they're a little cumbersome to switch between, especially if one of these solutions is very big. Like I have a .sln file that has 830 projects in it. That's a little, that makes this even a little cumbersome here, okay? So, but that is another way that I can switch easily between different .sln files in Visual Studio. Okay, but it still is a little cumbersome for me. Okay, so I'm going to exit all these copies of Visual Studio. And of course, you know, one of the advantages of using Visual Studio this way is that you can put multiple Visual Studio instances on your multiple monitors. However, with my innovation, you can also do that as well. Okay, so now let's launch xyLOGIX AppMaster. Here we are, xyLOGIX AppMaster. That's my own product here that I'm demoing. And as you notice, an environment comes up that actually has a loading with a Visual Studio icon tab on it. So just like Chrome, here you can see just like Chrome has a tab, and then here's Visual Studio, but in a tabbed environment. So now let's suppose I want to open up my quote-unquote root solution, that depends upon the other two solutions, that is core.common. So I'll go to the File menu right there and access the most recently used list and click on the core.common solution there. Now let's see. Now let's suppose I want to access my core.debug solutions and my core.logging solutions at the same time so I can work on all this code in parallel. Well, now I can, because with xyLOGIX AppMaster, because I can click the plus button and I can do a tab, and these tabs actually capture Visual Studio in it. So see here, I can actually click and I can tear the tab off. Okay, that's a feature that's kind of a work in progress still. But so let's open up again. But I can tear the tab off. I can move it actually to my other monitor. And you can't see my other monitor, but there it is. I can maximize it. And now I'm looking at my other monitor. Or I can also click and drag the tab and tear it off and move it over here. And again, still a work in progress, as this is a work in progress and development project. But I'm wanting to show the potential of this project, okay? So it kind of mimics Google Chrome's tabbed browser interface, but for programs instead of web pages. So anyway, let's go ahead and open up our core.common. Okay, there we are. And then now let's open up our other solutions. Okay, so of course, loading everything, loading my ReSharper extensions and all that stuff. Okay, let's click the plus sign to open up a new Visual Studio tab. As you can see, Visual Studio first opens up as an independent program and it says captured by the tab, okay? And I use Win32 APIs to actually snag the main window of the Visual Studio that's been launched and then make it a child, okay, of this tab. So then what we're going here is we're going to open up core.debug.sln, which is one of the solutions that my core.common depends upon. And there we are. We have a core.debug. And notice how the tab's text is actually is updated to reflect the name of the solution you have open. Okay, so you can find it easily. And then let's see. We have, then I click the plus sign again, and the new Visual Studio instance is spawned and then captured. And, you know, having the ability to tear these tabs off, which does somewhat work, is awesome because I can move some of these Visual Studio tabs to my other monitor, and I can also switch between my tabs on the other monitor as well. And you have to take my word for it that feature of the project works. But regardless, let's see. So here, my other solution that core.common depends upon is core.logging.sln. So I'm just going to open that in this new tab. And here we have core.logging. Now, why might I want to open my different solutions in different tabs? Well, you can see here there's little padlock symbols for GitHub. So obviously, I'm working in the GitHub repository of just core.logging. Of course, I can always change my code over here, and let me just click the tab to switch to the matching instance of Visual Studio. See how easy that is? And I could always alter the code of something in core.logging. But in order to easily have the ability to check my changes in to source control, I can't do that here because the Git Changes window only works for core.common. if I want the Get Changes window for core.logging, I really should open it up in its own Visual Studio instance or in its tab here. So there's my Get Changes for core.logging. Okay. And also, this is very important for when you're adding NuGet package references. If you add the NuGet packages, if I add a NuGet package into core.logging, but from the core.common tab, what will end up happening is that the reference to the package DLLs will actually be referring to the core.common location folder, not the core.logging folder, its packages folder, which is really where it should refer to. So again, I might want to work with this solution in a tab. And so you can see I have multiple little tabs here for my solutions. I can click the close button to close the copy of Visual Studio that has that solution open, and it does actually allow Visual Studio to fully unload the solution from memory and everything. And of course, I can also just go File, Exit in the embedded Visual Studio inside the tab. And so there we go. So really what we're doing here is we're changing the .sln single document interface that Visual Studio likes to use, and we're allowing a multiple document interface workspace capability for Visual Studio Solutions with my xyLOGIX AppMaster innovation. So one thing I also want to show you that xyLOGIX AppMaster does right outside of the box. And so first of all, to do that, I'll need multiple tabs open. So I'm going to go ahead and launch my other solutions once more. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everything to bring up in the environment here. What I want to show you is that there's still some limited jump list functionality with the xyLOGIX AppMaster. It comes with right out of the box. So let me just get everything loaded. Okay, here we are. So if I want to switch between my tabs, I can also switch between them and close them in my little jump list here down at the bottom by hovering over the xyLOGIX AppMaster icon. One of the planned features for this here is to be able to right-click the icon and have that most recently used menu of .sln files that you recently opened, but in terms of xyLOGIX AppMaster so that you can open them in tabs. Unlike for Visual Studio, I'm talking about these entries here. I want to put those also in my xyLOGIX AppMaster icon as well, again. So, but this way you can easily open your more recently opened solutions in xyLOGIX AppMaster. So that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching.